All right, we are now on YouTube. I believe we're on Twitch as well. I see we're on the YouTube app. Let me just check and make sure that we got the Twitch up and running here. 1 second. My channel. All right, cool. It is. It hasn't hit the, I guess, the stream manager yet. It's weird. All right, there it is. Cool. So we're on both. And let me get the Anchor stuff up and running. So this is the Crew Chiefs Corner podcast, getting ready to live record our 15th episode here of season 2. So I'm getting ready to go on Anchor and do that. First time we've done a live record in a little while. Hopefully with this weather that we have coming in and the weather that we are dealing with right now, we don't lose power or anything, because that would really screw up the whole thing. But we're going to try to jump right in as quick as we can into everything. So we're going to do that. Got that going. All right, I think we're ready. Hey, everybody, this is By here, the Crew Chiefs Corner podcast, bringing you our 15th episode of season number 2 here on the Crew Chiefs Corner podcast. Got a very interesting episode to go over with you all. I mean, my goodness. I think the title for this one is really shock and awe. I mean, that's why I called it on our live stream here on YouTube. I mean, it is absolutely crazy what's happened the last 2 weeks in the world of NASCAR. First and foremost, obviously, you had the doubleheader race weekend out of Pocono, which, I mean, Kyle Larson was a corner away from winning his 4th points-paying Cup race in a row, and blows a right front tire, which was something that none of us saw coming. So when he blows that tire going into turn 3 and gives the win to Alex Bowman, that was sort of the first shocking moment of the last 2 weeks. And then Kyle Busch coming back and winning a fuel mileage race, which is very ironic, because I remember a fuel mileage race at Pocono some maybe 5 or 6 years ago where Kyle Busch ran out of gas trying to win the race. And Kyle Busch was stuck in 4th gear during that race and came back and won the Sunday race there at Pocono. Then you had the earth-shattering news there in the middle of the week, in between Road America and after the Pocono race, of Trackhouse, which is Justin Marks and Pitbull, go and buy Chip Ganassi Racing, which wasn't really for sale. It was just a deal that I think Justin went into it thinking that, hey, I'm going to talk to Chip and see if maybe we can get a charter out of this, or maybe work together or something. I don't know really what the whole intent of the meeting was. I'm assuming he was going to try to acquire a charter, realizing that if Kurt Busch leaves, they don't have a ton of funding there, at Ganassi's program. And, you look at, he's really just got McDonald's for some races, and he has what used to be First Data, but now it's ComServe, because it's kind of, they've rebranded the company. But they have Clover on the car for the 42, and they're only doing so many races. They lost Credit One Bank as a sponsor, and by and large, I mean, Ross has run blank races this season as well, and they've had some random 1-race deals and stuff. So, sort of, I don't want to say the writing was on the wall, but it was sort of not. I mean, it was a shock that Ganassi sold out to Justin Marks, because I think if you ask me, there's no way that I would have put Ganassi as a team that would have sold to Justin Marks anyhow, because if the rumor is true that Matt Kaulig paid $10 million for each one of those charters from Spire, I mean, I don't know how much the Ganassi buying of the team cost. There's a rumor out there that the guys on Door Bumper Clear talked about, that said that they heard the $35 million total to purchase Ganassi. I don't know how true that is. We'll get into that a little bit later on as well, but just a big news there. And then, we still don't know exactly what's going to happen in Penske. There's been some I there's been a little bit of some, kind of drips out of there that kind of make a little bit of sense. I mean, I know a lot of people think D Burrito or D Benedetto as his name is, but I've often nicknamed him D Burrito. Um, and that's from the whole Reddit campaign back when he was driving for BK Racing and then ended up in the 32 and all that. He went with D Burrito. That if you won the fan vote, they're going to change the name on his car and all that and whatnot. But D Benedetto it sounds like he might be actually a free agent at the end of the season, that even maybe Penske's not going to pick up his deal, and that maybe there's another driver that Roger Penske covets more than Matt D Benedetto to drive the 21 car if that relationship continues. So we'll have to see how that works out. But there's been some drips and drops on that deal. We heard the rumor of Ty Dillon's name being thrown out there, which I thought was absolutely asinine. I was like, I don't know how the hell you put Ty Dillon in a Penske related car over Matt DiBenedetto, who's, you know, over their careers. I mean, my gosh, I don't even know how you compare the two. I mean, Matt really didn't have much of a shot in Xfinity and truck to compete in good equipment. And you look at what he's done last year and this year. I really think that the Penske deal with the 21 team the last 2 years has been tough because, when Blaney was in that car, they ran a lot better. And then obviously when they put Di Benedetto in that car, I think it kind of changed how that whole deal sort of worked out. And I think it really kind of hurt Matt. And I think last year, thinking that this year was knowing that last year he had to prove himself to get the deal for this year, and then knowing that now you're getting replaced, I don't know how well that 21 car is being set up each week for success. And what I mean by that is, there's no long-term gain for these guys to put the best foot forward for that 21 car because, now that it's pretty much known that Brad's leaving, I think everyone's kind of on that fence right now of Brad left. He's, everything we've heard from Adam Stern and some of the other more confirmed guys that are the insiders in this deal have continued to say that, Roush is telling people, their business partners, they have a deal for 2022 with Brad Keselowski to drive one of those Roush Fenway cars. And of everything we've heard, it is the 6 car. Whether they rebrand that and make it the 29 for Brad or whatever happens there remains to be seen. But at the end of the day, we know Brad's leaving. We know that Austin Cindric has a deal with Penske to drive a Cup car, whether that Cup car is the Wood Brothers 21 car or potentially a car in the proper organization, whether or not they reshuffle numbers. We also know that Todd Gordon is retiring from being a crew chief at the end of this season. So what does that do for the crew chief shuffle? They've already replaced Greg Irwin over at the 21 team with an engineer. So there's been some shaking up that's been going on, and we're going to try to piece it together for you guys a little bit later on as well. And then the other bombshell that was dropped in the middle of this week in between the two races was Atlanta getting a reprofile. And I'll be honest with you, as I talk about it a little bit later on, I just don't know what NASCAR fans are looking for right now because, and I've said this before, it's like the NASCAR fan is the fan base that they complain about anything and everything. It's so funny because the new car, we don't know what it's going to do on track until we get to Daytona 2022. We have no idea what this car is going to race like. We've seen videos of it. We've seen it out with one other car. We've never seen it in a pack of cars. We've never seen it in a race setting. And all of a sudden, we already know there are fans out there that are telling people it's going to be follow the leader racing at Atlanta. It's a repave. They're making the track more narrow. They're raising the banking in the corners. It's going to be follow the leader. It's going to be more like Daytona than any of the other mile-and-a-half tracks. It's going to be garbage. It's going to be nonsense, all this stuff. I want to say pump the brakes on it and let's try to think about it a little bit before we jump to conclusions. So we'll talk about that, and then we'll talk about Road America. I mean, I feel like we've already kind of hit 8 topics before we've gotten to Road America. But 4th of July at Road America, I think the overall consensus is the races were decent. I know the biggest thing that was talked about in a couple of different avenues and different medias and different platforms was obviously the length of cautions. And do we need to do away with cautions on the road courses for the stage breaks? So we'll talk about that and why I think Dale Jr. is absolutely crazy. He said on the Dale Jr. download he hates shortcuts, and I think he's crazy. I think they need to put that shortcut in from turn 5 to turn 13. Build a damn bridge, whatever the hell you need to do. Shorten that course up on cautions for the love of humanity. And I'll tell you why I think that's a great idea. All that and more on a very action-packed episode here of the Crew Chiefs Corner podcast. We'll get it started right after this quick word from our friends over at Circle B Diecast. Don't forget, if you're a fan of any of the drivers that won in the last 2 weeks, whether you're a Chase Elliott fan, whether you're a Kyle Busch fan, whether you like, Alex Bowman, any of the guys that won the cup races the last 2 weeks, CircleBDiecast.com has your raced version diecast. And if you use my promo code Crew Chiefs Corner, you get free shipping on all U.S. orders over $20. That's right. Free shipping over $20 on all U.S. orders at CircleBDiecast.com. And heck, my name's going to be on a race truck this weekend out at Knoxville with Chase Briscoe. Go check out my friends at Circle B Diecast. We'll come right back and we'll have more of the Crew Chiefs Corner podcast. I'm Bobby Bailey. All right. Hopefully you guys are having a good Thursday evening out there. I'm going to give it it probably needs a minute or two to process. So normally what I do in this downtime on the live stream is we talk about these diecasts that I have behind me, but I don't think I've really added anything recently that I haven't talked about. I mean, I know it's been a couple of podcasts since I've done a live record. I guess really the most recent thing I have is this William Byron. This is a 2020 raced version. This is the Daytona winner. So it's his first official cup win. Driving that 24 Liberty car. It's got that little bit of a metal flake in it. This is not a color chrome car. This is actually just a regular standard finish. It's got a little bit of that flaky kind of finish in it. So it's very, very nice looking. Like I said, it almost looks like a chrome, but it's not. This is dual autograph. So this is a dual autograph elite. So William's signature is on the front, and then you have crew chief Chad Knaus, his final cup win as a crew chief, right there on the back. The only Chad Knaus autographed diecast I own. So kind of cool. I've been collecting William Byron since his Xfinity days over Junior Motorsports. So neat to have his first Xfinity one and obviously his first cup win as well. But I think everything else that is here is stuff that has been here. Nothing else really came in recently. I think everything else I've shown off. I'm just taking one last little peek around to see if I might have missed something, but pretty sure we didn't. All right, let me see if our opening segment has shown up. So let me name this. This is season 2. If you guys like what you're hearing here on the Crew Chiefs Corner podcast, you can check us out wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. So whether that's Stitcher, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, iHeartRadio, the Odyssey app, Radio Public, Overcast, Podcast Addict. I mean, there's so many great things out there that you can listen to, all these different podcasts, different platforms and stuff like that. I mean, we're on pretty much all of them. So you can check it out. We have probably 55 episodes now at this point, I think, out there in the universe that exist. We have, obviously, this is our 15th of season 2. I believe we have something in the neighborhood of 30-ish for season 1, maybe 26, 27, something like that. And then we have a 3-part series called NASCAR for Rookies. So I think everything soup to nuts is around 50 episodes altogether. So check it out. Thanks for all the support. And obviously, you can check out our website. It's www.thecrewchief.net. That's once again www.thecrewchief.net is our home for all of our NASCAR information. You can check out our news, little blurbs there. You can check out the race results, starting lineups, entry list, all kinds of good stuff on there. I do have to update some of that stuff tonight, which is what I'll do after the podcast. I'll try to update on that stuff just because, you know, I get asked this question a lot, like, why aren't you guys more updated than you used to be? And one of the things that happened was NASCAR changed their media site within the last year. During the middle of the COVID pandemic, they changed it, and a lot of it was because they were trying to make it a little bit more accessible to the media members to be able to cover the races. And I greatly appreciate that. I had the same access that everybody else did to get into live timing and scoring. I could basically live tweet the race without needing to watch the TV, and I wasn't on a delay or anything. I was actually into the timing and scoring live, so I was able to see things as they were happening, just like you would if you were at the racetrack covering the race yourself. So that was really cool. And NASCAR opened that up to everybody, and we were all able to get in there. One of the pitfalls of all this was I used to screenshot everything off of my cell phone. So I was used to be able to go in, get a PDF, be able to take it, and then upload it right from, take the screenshot and then upload it right onto the Facebook page. Well, what happened is this year they decided that it's not. I don't know if it's Safari. I don't know what the heck it is. I've tried it, um, a couple different ways, but apparently I can't get the PDF to open on my iPhone. What I have to do is I have to go on the laptop. I have to go on the NASCAR media site. I open it, download it. Then I basically download it into my iCloud account, which then I go in and grab that out of there, take a screenshot of it on my phone. And then that's how it gets uploaded onto the Facebook page and also onto the website. So it's a little bit more complicated this year than it's been in years past, but we're doing the best we can. And obviously being very busy, we're still in the middle of a global pandemic, even though we're kind of on the other side of it. My normal job is usually very busy, and we're just getting through the holidays, with July 4th and everything. So that's why sometimes the episodes get backed up on us, and I got to do a 2-for-1 or something like that. So not that I really feel like I owe you guys an explanation. I mean, I don't charge anybody for this. This is all stuff I do for free and do it for fun. I really don't owe you guys an apology in my opinion, but because I would owe you guys an apology if I was doing this for charge, but obviously I'm not. I'm just doing this out of my own fun, my own personal hobby, I would say. So that's just really why we get backed up a little bit. But hopefully we'll see a little bit less things going on, and hopefully it seemed like the entry list seemed to work the way it used to. So hopefully that will work that way continuing, and we'll be able to get the screenshots up a little bit faster and be able to update you guys sooner. But it's like every time something happens, I got to open the laptop, go through that process. And sometimes I'm not near the laptop. Sometimes I'm at work, and there's just no way in hell I can have the laptop at work and all that stuff. So, it is what it is. So, all right. Enough ranting and raving. Let's get back into the episode here. All right, guys, we're back here on the Crew Chiefs Corner podcast. This is Bobby Bailey. Man, I guess first we're going to start with Pocono. Let's just get right into the race recap for Pocono. 2 races out at the Tricky Triangle, and I'll be honest with you guys, I was busy this particular weekend. I really didn't get to watch a lot of the races, but we'll do a quick surmise for you of the events out in Long Pond, PA. And obviously on Saturday we had the Xfinity race, a big win for Austin Cindric, dominating race win really for him. And again, just we've been talking about this a lot with this kid over the last few years. I feel like he is just coming into his own now. And I know there was a lot of people that were like, man, they should have just thrown him in the cup car this year and not really kind of made him run another year in Xfinity. I beg to differ on that. I thought that really when they decided to put him in this car, in his 22 car for another season, I thought they did the right thing. I thought they did what they needed to do, which is give him a year where he doesn't have a Chase Briscoe. He doesn't have all the, he doesn't have the big three. There's no big three this year in Xfinity. Really, his biggest competitor is a guy that's running part time right now, who's driving that 54 car called Ty Gibbs. That's who's really his biggest competition on a weekly basis. So Austin Cindric is basically got his name, I would say, on that Final Four. And I know someone's going to say, well, Bobby, you said in the last episode you can't count anything before the chickens hatch and all this other nonsense. I agree, but in this case with Austin Cindric, I mean, this guy has been so good the last year and a half or so in the Xfinity series. It is going to be hard to bet against him. And given his prior success at Phoenix, I really think he's the shoe in to win this championship and get his second one in a row and really set himself up for success in the Cup Series. And I think he's going to be a good Cup driver. I mean, I think we saw it a little bit this past weekend at Road America. He's going to be great on the road races. The oval tracks, he's gonna kind of suffer on. But I think once he gets used to the new car, once he gets used to how it runs on the ovals and that interaction, I think Austin Cindric's going to be the man. I really do. I think he's going to be a really good driver. I think he's going to compete for race wins, and I think he's going to be somebody that's going to compete for a Cup championship down the road. I really do feel that way. I think this was a guy that probably 4 or 5 years ago, if you said to me, Austin Cindric, what do you think of him? I would have said sports car racer. I mean, I don't know. I mean, he gets in the truck series. He's kind of meh in the truck series. Um, I really didn't have an opinion of him on the trucks side of things, and he got in Xfinity, and it was kind of the same thing. He won Mid Ohio. He ran well at a lot of the road courses, but you just didn't see it at the mile and a half. And it was that doubleheader at Kentucky that I think a lot of people, the light switch flipped on him. When he won that doubleheader at Kentucky Speedway last year in the middle of the pandemic, that was when I think everybody got on the Austin Cindric train. And I think that was the beginning of the discussion of he's ready for Cup, because he beat a lot of good drivers in that race, those two races at Kentucky. And then I think the next thing that a lot of people don't realize is Penske almost shut down the Xfinity car last year because of the pandemic. He came very close to closing that whole program down, because they didn't have a lot of sponsorship. They didn't have a lot of really good things going on over there. And he almost shut the whole program down and almost told Austin, listen, we're going to run you in the races. We have sponsorship, but some of these other events, we're just not going to run. And the fact that Roger soldiered on and they put that deal together and he ended up winning those races and he ended up winning that championship. That's what really solidified, I think, his spot in a car at Penske for Cup in 2022, whether that was driving for Penske directly or driving for the Wood brothers. So, getting back to the Pocono race, I mean, another win, another amount of bonus points that he'll earn, and that'll get him another step closer to that regular season championship, which awards him another 15 bonus points getting into, the playoffs. So, Cindric's, I think, the man in the Xfinity series, and someone's going to have to prove to me that they're going to be the man otherwise. I just don't see it this year. And then you get to the Cup race, and Larson dominates. I mean, one of the funny things that kind of, well, I think it's funny. One of the funny things I think that happens in racing, whether it's Kyle Larson, Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon, you don't want to go look at Dale Earnhardt. It seems like whenever we get a driver who's really dominant, fans tend to hate that guy. They tend to boo that guy more than anybody else. And I'll be the first person to say I was not a Jimmy Johnson fan. I was not a Jeff Gordon fan growing up. And I was one of those people that did not like that those guys won all the time. But one of the things I find so ironic about the Kyle Larson situation is that Kyle Larson was a guy last year that got taken out of his seat because of comments he made in an iRacing event, right? And wherever you stood on that, I think a lot of people were like, let's give Kyle a second chance. So when Rick Hendrick gives him the second chance, a lot of the same people that were pissed that he got, I shouldn't say the people that are pissed, the people that were happy that he got removed because of what he said, are also now some of the same people that are booing the guy for winning races, stinking up the shows, and running up front in the Cup Series. And I sit there and say, Kyle Larson's, I've said it before and I'll say it again, he's a once-in-a-generation talent. And the reason why Rick Hendrick put him in the car has nothing to do with the fact that Kyle Larson said what he said. Rick Hendrick put him in the car because of his ability to win races and probably compete for a championship or two or three or five or 10. Kyle Larson is going to win more races this season. He's going to be a title contender before the year's out. The fact that anybody is mad that Kyle Larson was on the tear that he was on just shows you that, people get jealous. People get upset. People are mad. I mean, hell, we all want our favorite drivers to win. I like Chase Elliott, but I mean, there's a lot of other guys I like. I like Joey Logano. I like Ryan Blaney. I like Cole Custer. I mean, there's tons of guys I root for, you know, and I'm not a die in the world Chase Elliott fans. I'm not one of those guys that every single time a Chase Elliott diecast comes up, I got to buy it. That's not me. I don't have a ton of Chase Elliott gear. I have a championship shirt. I have a championship hat. I might have one other T-shirt of his, and that's it. And I have a crew shirt. That's it. That's all I got. I mean, it's not like I have a whole wardrobe of Chase Elliott. You know, when I was a Mark Martin, Matt Kenseth fan, I was a die in the world Mark Martin and Matt Kenseth fan. But not anymore because there's so many different personalities. I like each one of the guys I root for different reasons. I like Joey Logano because Joey's humble, down to earth, and all that. I met Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson, to me, is very shy, very quiet, very reserved, personality-wise, okay? But damn, he is a fierce competitor behind the wheel. And that's what you want as an owner. You don't want to have the guy who's afraid to go fast because it is so hard to make a guy go fast than to slow a guy down a little bit. You can slow a guy down, but you can't speed a guy up. And that's what anybody that's been in the sport will tell you. It is way easier to slow a guy down than it is to tell a guy to speed up. And Kyle Larson has no problem with going fast. He can haul ass when he needs to. And you put him in anything right now. I mean, you could put him in one of those XRX cars. He'd probably whoop all their butts and beat all the old guys by 4 or 5 laps. I know Ernie Francis Jr. is not old, but I'm saying that he could go out there and kick all their asses right now, right here, right now. So, Larson goes into turn 3 on the final lap. He's about ready to win the race. He blows a right front tire, smacks the wall, and Alex Bowman wins the race. Now, Alex Bowman, here's a guy. I mean, here's the crazy thing about Alex Bowman. Okay, so you have Kyle Larson, who Rick gave a second chance to. Alex Bowman was a guy that wasn't even on half of the team owners' radars for most of his racing career. And you look at how Bowman got to where he's at, and we've talked about this a lot on the show, so I'm not rehashing it. But here's a guy that, without Dale Jr., Alex Bowman's not driving that car today. And I think that speaks a lot about Dale Jr. I think that speaks a lot about Rick Hendrick's trust in Jr., which is why I think Dale Jr. would be a great Cup owner. Because I think even though Dale Jr. has a lot of guys driving for him right now in the Xfinity Series, and every single one of them that's driving for him is there because of money. I mean, Justin Allgaier, if he didn't have Brandt, wouldn't be driving for him. Michael Annett is surely in that one car because of funding. The 8 car has had, Josh Berry, Dale Jr. kind of spotted him for it as far as financially goes, but Sam Mayer's in that car because of financial reasons. You just look at those cars that he has, they're all funded by the guy that's driving the car. Noah Gragson, his family has money. He lucked out the last year and a half that he's had, Bass Pro Shops, Johnny Morris sponsoring him with Black Rifle Coffee and True Timber, all kind of kicking in. And True Timber is a company that Dale Jr. kind of endorses and stuff like that. So there's a little bit of some synergy there, but those guys are all in cars, not necessarily because of the talent, but because of the money. In Allgaier's case, Justin's a talented race car driver. Justin maybe is the driver that we'll kind of mention later on when we talk about some other stuff. But Justin's your prototypical. He made the right move to go back to Xfinity, go out and win races, compete for championships. He hasn't won one yet, but he reminds me a lot of Elliott Sadler at the end of when Elliott went back to Xfinity towards the end of his career, where he went back because he was tired of losing. And you could see that with Justin Allgaier. He was tired of losing in the Cup Series. He was tired of being the guy that just couldn't get the job done. And now he's able to do that. in the Xfinity series because he's won there before and he's driving for a really good team owner in Dale Jr. So I know we kind of went, around when we're talking about this, but Bowman, goes out and wins that race. Big win, his third win of the season, fifth of his career. And here's a guy that, man, I mean, like I said, he was a test driver at Hendrick. He was a test guy at Hendrick and ends up in this seat and ends up winning 3 races. And that is 3 more wins that he has that Jimmy had in the last couple years in that car. So kind of interesting. Kind of interesting in that car number. He's got 3 wins in that car number, 3 more than Jimmy Johnson's had since the win at Dover in 2017. So um, just saying. I know it's not the same team. You can stop with that. But if you want to make that analogy, what's the excuse? Kyle Larson's driving basically the 48 cars and the 48 crew, and he's won 4 races this year, and Jimmy still didn't win that many races. So I don't know. Just food for thought. So then we come back with Sunday. We have the Truck Series race at Pocono. John Hunter Nemechek beats his boss, Kyle Busch, for the 3rd time this season, picks up the 5th win of the season for John Hunter Nemechek. And listen, I've said it before. I'll beat the drum again. John Hunter Nemechek, put him in the Final Four at Phoenix. He is your championship favorite. I love this move this kid made in this offseason. I've had John Hunter on the show before, and I really think that he's going to be somebody to watch out for. I mean, I love the way this young man thinks. Listen, going Cup, he got a ton of experience in a Cup car, but I think he had the same thing we were just talking about with Justin Allgaier. And I'll cross the analogy and I'll make the symmetry here in a second. Is that, again, here's a guy that was getting beat up in the Cup Series. He was 1 finish away from getting a seat at Dale Jr.'s team. And for those of you that don't know, his incident with Cole Custer, I think that was 2017 at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, where he wrecked Cole Custer going into that final corner. And then those two had that infamous scuffle on the front stretch after the race was over. That wreck and that scuffle costed John Hunter Nemechek a shot to drive for Junior Motorsports the next season. Think about how different John Hunter Nemechek's career would have been had it not been for that accident. Think about it. It's crazy. So what did he do? He went and took the deal at GMS, struggled in that deal, then got out of that. Before that, he drove for Ganassi, won an Xfinity race with Ganassi, jumps in the full-time ride over at GMS. They shut their doors. He decides to go Cup racing, probably 2 seasons too early, goes out, runs decent at a couple places, had that great run at Darlington, had a good run at Talladega that was spoiled late in that race. And then it just like the epiphany goes off in John Hunter's head. What the hell am I going to do? What am I going to do next year? And his decision was to go truck racing because he wanted to win races. He wanted to win races. He wanted to win a championship. He had the money and the resources to do it. He hooked up with Kyle Busch Motorsports, and 5 wins later, he's your championship favorite going into the season. As it winds down, there's, I think, 2 races left before the playoffs for the trucks. So that's it. I mean, what else do you want? As a race car driver. I mean, yeah, everybody wants to run Cup. Everybody that gets the Truck Series, even the ARCA Series, you poll, I would say 99.9% of those drivers would say, I want to be a Cup Series driver one day. I want to drive a Cup car. Nobody gets into those upper echelon series, whether it's ARCA, whether it's a Truck Series, whether it's Xfinity, and not utter the words, I want to be a NASCAR Cup Series driver. None of them say anything less than that. But what happens is you realize very quickly, as a lot of these drivers do, that it is not easy being a NASCAR Cup Series driver. Just go ask some of the guys that are finding that out the hard way in the last 10 years. You look at a guy like Justin Allgaier, who had to admit that maybe Cup isn't for me right now. Step down, got an Xfinity car, is running way better. Michael Annett, same situation. In a Cup car, struggling, comes down to Xfinity, becomes Justin Allgaier's teammate once again. They were teammates at H. Scott Motorsports in the Cup Series, and now they're working together again. And Michael's got a couple wins now, or has a win in the Xfinity Series with Junior's team. But you look at, John Hunter Nemechek, we just talked about him. He's doing the same thing. Johnny Sauter's another guy that's done it. Johnny Sauter went and ran some cup races and ran a Busch series and decided, hey, I'm much better off in the truck series. He's won truck championships because of that move. So sometimes guys that are in these upper series seats, whether it's Xfinity or trucks, Xfinity or Cup, that are in over their heads. And I look at a lot of times the guys that drive that Rick Ware Racing stuff. I I know those guys have money. That's why they're in those cars. But some of those guys are better off staying in the Xfinity series and getting those better finishes, even if they're driving the mediocre stuff. I mean, I've seen guys that run Cup part time, that have money, that run those Rick Ware stuff, those cars, and they get in a mid pack Xfinity deal, whether it's Jimmy Means' stuff or SS Greenlight or some of those other mid pack teams, and they go out there and run top 10 with them. And then you sit there and say the guy's got the talent. It's just maybe they don't realize that they're not really supposed to be in Cup right now. Maybe they're supposed to be in Xfinity or trucks, and maybe they would compete for wins. So it'll be interesting to see how many other people follow John Hunter's lead and maybe go down into these lower series. So the other thing we're going to talk about is the bombshell news. So let's talk about Ganassi and Trackhouse real quick. I know I can only talk for 30 minutes per segment here, so I'm already at 18 minutes approximately in this second segment. My first takeaway is obviously, Chip Ganassi came into this sport. He was supposed to be bringing in a lot of funding. We saw Singular come in. He brought Target over with him. There was a lot of really cool things he did. The one thing that we didn't see was the success of his IndyCar program did not translate into his NASCAR program. Ganassi was very well known as a race-winning, championship contending organization on the IndyCar kart side of the business, and they were also very good in IMSA with the road racing. They won multiple Daytona 24-hour races. They were competing for series championships over there in IMSA. They just could never do it in NASCAR. Kyle Larson won 6 races for him. They seem to always have a bugaboo with Juan Pablo Montoya winning races. Montoya only had a couple of wins. They had that one win with Jamie McMurray, at 2001 at Charlotte. The second race of his career, he goes out and wins, filling in for Sterling Marlin. So you look at Ganassi overall, there's not a ton of wins. If they had 15 wins as a company in Cup, I would be surprised. They didn't win a lot of races. They were in the playoffs a lot, but they just never had a legitimate shot at winning a title. And I don't know if we're going to look back at this and say this is a cautionary tale for people that have multiple series that they're in. That sometimes just because you're dominant in one series doesn't mean you're going to be dominant in another. Because I think you look at Penske. Roger Penske is so successful in IndyCar. And up until really the last, I'd say 10 years or so, 10, 15, I'll be fair. I'll give him the last 20 years. They really weren't that great. He wasn't that great in NASCAR. I mean, Rusty Wallace won races. He competed for championships and all that. But Rusty never really was able to get that championship with Penske. He came close, but he always had the Jeff Gordons of the world, the Dale Earnhardts of the world to compete against. And Penske never had the equipment that was good enough to beat those guys for a season championship. But I think if you look at Penske now, Brad Keselowski won a championship for him in 2012. Then Logano won his in 2018. And now you look at, building on the future, Logano's going to be the head of that organization once Brad leaves. And, I mean, Brad really hasn't shown a championship form since his win in 2012. Joey, I think, is going to knock on the door again because I think Joey's got the talent. The other thing is that's going to pressure, I think, Ryan Blaney quite a bit over there. But what I'm getting at is Penske has at least won championships in NASCAR. They've done something. Ganassi never got to that pinnacle of the sport. They never got to that top of the mountain sort of goal. And I just think that financially, they're things are taxing on these organizations right now. And I think Chip was at a point where, listen, I don't know what the hell Justin Marks walked in the door with. So there were some rumors that the guys on Door Bumper Clear were talking about of $35 million. That's a hell of a lot of money to pay for two charters, obsolete race cars, some key personnel, and the lease on the building because they're not going to own the building because Rob Kaufman owns the building, and I don't know how long Rob Kaufman's going to really own the building. I mean, lease the building to a team that's not owned by him anymore. So I don't know how that's all going to work out, but I think for Justin Marks, it's a home run. It's a big win for Daniel Suarez. It's a vote of confidence in that guy. But again, you look at Suarez, and I just sit there and I say, does Daniel Suarez deserve that seat over whoever gets cut out of that deal at Ganassi? Whether it's Chastain, whether it's Kurt Busch who decides to leave, whoever doesn't get that seat is going to get screwed. And then I'm going to sit there and say, does Daniel Suarez deserve that seat over Kurt Busch? I don't think so. I think Kurt Busch made Ganassi better. And I know someone's going to fight me on that, but I really think he makes Ganassi better. I think he would make Trackhouse better. I mean, I think Suarez is a guy that is going to take some time. And what I mean he's going to take some time, he's going to take some time to develop into a perennial driver that's going to be competing for top 10s, competing for top 5s, competing for race wins. It's going to take Suarez a long time to get there. Just like it's taken Bubba Wallace a long time to get there. You need to pair one of these types of drivers up with someone that's been successful. That's why I think 23XI, if they don't hire Kurt Busch or Ryan Newman to pair him up with Bubba Wallace, they are going to screw Bubba Wallace big time. And I'm not the biggest Bubba Wallace fan. I mean, I think the guy deserves a seat in the sport. I think he deserves a seat at the table. Is he really one of the best 40 drivers in the world? You can make the argument either way, I think. But personally speaking, I think that Bubba he's always been a personality. Whether you like that personality or not, that's really up to you to decide. I know fans are passionate about Bubba one way or the other. You either love the guy or you hate the guy. And I think that whatever they do with the second car is going to really dictate how successful Bubba's going to be in his racing career. If Bubba Wallace turns out and gets a veteran driver to lean on, whether it's Kurt Busch, whether it's Ryan Newman, whomever it is, they have to do something to give this guy somebody to bounce information off of. Because his years at Petty, he had nobody to bounce ideas off of. I know he could have went over to RCR and stuff, but RCR sucked when he was driving there. I mean, it's kind of ironic. This year, RCR is running a little bit better. The Chevys are running better. And he's over at Toyota, and they're going through some kind of a downturn. I don't know what the hell is going on over there. I mean, Truex goes out and wins 3 races, and now Truex don't even look like he can finish 20th most weeks. So I don't know what the hell is going on over there at Gibbs, but they seem like they're going through a rut right now. And every team goes there. I mean, we saw it with Hendrick from 2017, 2018, 2019. They went through a big rut, and it seemed like that second half of 2020, they started turning that corner. Sort of right around the time that William Byron won that race at Daytona, it seemed like they started coming out of it. And that's when they really made that push through the playoffs. And that's what won Chase Elliott that championship. I don't care what anybody says. Hendrick got better at the right time. And I'm looking at this season and saying, when is it going to be the time that somebody steps it up and goes out there and competes with Hendrick this year? So we'll see. But overall impressions, I think the Trackhouse deal, until we know who the second driver is for real, I'm not going to really give it a grade. I think it's a smart move on Justin's part to go out there and acquire 2 charters, acquire the assets of the operation, obviously the hauler. The cars are obsolete. You're going to sell them probably to an Xfinity program anyhow. Maybe they open an Xfinity program. I don't know what the hell they're going to do over there, but it just makes a lot of business sense for those guys. And to have some personnel that work for you directly is not a bad thing. So we'll see what happens there. But just a big, big shock. I didn't see Ganassi selling at all, but it makes sense. He was financially struggling, I think, and it was just time to get out. So very shocking. So what we're going to do on the other side of this break is we are going to talk about the races out at Road America. And we will also talk about the second bombshell announcement, which was the Atlanta Motor Speedway reprofiling. But first, we're going to hear our website announcement. So be sure to check out our website, www.thecrewchief.net, for all your NASCAR news and information and the latest from your portal to the world of the NASCAR news that is put together by yours truly, Bobby Bailey. And what we'll do is we'll take our break. We'll come back and we'll talk Road America. This is the Crew Chiefs Corner podcast, hosted by Bobby Bailey. All right, cool. Just trying to fix a couple things here real quick. Okay, so now we deleted all of them. All right, so now we get the get this all. All right, now that I got everything in line, we'll continue on. Let's see. Apologize about a little delay there. All right, everybody, this is Bobby Bailey back here on the Crew Cheese Corner podcast. We are now going to go over the Road America race recap. And I guess we'll start with, well, the cautions. Lots of cautions at Road America. They all took way too long, if you ask me. 22 minutes on a caution. At the end of, I think it was the first stage going into stage two. There was a caution with like 3 laps to go, and NASCAR, instead of deciding to just end the stage straight up and not try to open the pits and do all the other nonsense that they were trying to do, they decided to ride the stage out, which was fine. I had no problem with NASCAR doing that. The problem I had was that they should have just, I don't know, opened the pits and done all the normal stuff that they would do at the end of a stage instead of the 22-minute version of a caution where they close the pits. The guy's going to pit for 2 laps. They had to go around, drive 5 minutes around the track. And it just wasted 22 minutes of everybody's day. Whether it was the drivers, the fans watching it at the racetrack, or the fans at home, it ruined 22 minutes of your day. What I would like NASCAR to do is, when we go back to Road America next year, is do something. Shorten the track up for these cautions. You can shorten the track up between turn 5 and turn 13. There is a cut through the garage area. Now, I know I said in the tees in the open, build a bridge, a ramp, or something. I understand that takes financial infrastructure that maybe Road America doesn't have. But NASCAR has got to do something. Whether they keep a permanent lane there by putting up jersey barriers or something during the race so that fans don't get in that area, do something to get the guys through that area to shorten up the laps. I mean, do something. I mean, I understand there's other ramifications of, you're not going to save as much fuel. You're, changing that whole equation up. You're changing up the strategy of the drivers, the whole 9 yards. But realistically, does anybody think a 22-minute caution period is a good idea? That is longer than most NFL halftime shows. Okay? 22 minutes is longer than most Super Bowl commercial deals. I mean, halftime shows. I call them commercial deals because that's pretty much what they are. But, realistically, 22 minutes is crazy for one caution at a racetrack. And I do think I like the idea that Dale Jr. brought up on the Dale Jr. download this week of having no cautions at the end of the stages on the road courses. I think, especially when we're running these big road courses like Road America, throw the green, white checkered, award the points, and let's keep it going. Because nobody has time for a 22-minute caution. Even if it was a normal stage end, you're still going to run about 2 to 3 laps under yellow, which is at least 15 minutes in length at Road America. So you can't tell me that you would rather have a 22-minute caution over a shorter version of that, which would probably maybe take 2 to 3 minutes per, caution period off, or not more. Instead of a 5-minute lap, if you cut from 5 to 13, it'd probably take you, instead of 5 minutes a lap, maybe 2, maybe 3 minutes a lap, which in turn would make a 3 lap stage break. Instead of it being 15 minutes, at max it would be 9 or 10 minutes, which is much more manageable. Fans would understand that a little bit more. But if we just kept racing, we wouldn't have a 15-minute caution for the end of the stage. I don't know. NASCAR's got to do something. I couldn't believe we had a 22-minute caution. And I'm sure NBC did us all a favor and ran a whole bunch of commercials during it too. They probably made money on this deal because they probably had to sell extra commercials. Oh man, I mean, I just can't believe it. But the win on Saturday for Kyle Busch, his 101st of his Xfinity Series career, not a really big surprise. Kyle's been really good in Xfinity Series for a very long time. It was surprising he beat Austin Cindric, who we just gave a lot of praise to in the last segment. But Kyle Busch is Kyle Busch, and there's a reason why he calls himself KFB. He's pretty freaking good, and I think Kyle Busch, whether or not he hangs it up next year or not, I have no idea as far as the Xfinity Series goes, but who the hell cares? He's going to win at Atlanta this weekend, and he's going to ride off into the sunset with at least 102 wins. And that will be that. But then you come back on Sunday with Chase Elliott getting another win at a road course, the Road Course King, his 7th career road course win in the Cup Series. I don't know how the hell he's gotten so good at these road courses, but leave it to Chase to do it and just, dominate the race, man. He was just dominant. And again, I think that goes to show you that Hendrick's got a really, really good package right now. They got a really good cars. They have the right drivers in those cars, and they're going to win a bunch of races this season. And I know there was a lot of chatter on Door Bumper Clear, and if you guys don't listen to it, I highly recommend it. They were talking about NASCAR told Hendrick as an organization not to be playing with the Bondo in the front nose of the car. So apparently the rumor on the street is that there is Bondo that they're applying to these front fenders. And for those of you that don't know, the front fenders are supplied to the teams by the manufacturer, and they're also kind of not allowed to mess with them. Okay. So for some reason, the Hendrick guys they're screwing with them, and they're playing around with Bondo and changing the shapes of them or something. I don't know what the hell they're doing, but they're doing something to try to gain an advantage. And it's not in the rule book that they can't do what they're doing, but they're told politely by NASCAR not to do it anymore, which is part of the reason why I think you saw Hendrick wasn't as dominant at Pocono as they've been in the past. As dominant as they've been in other races with Kyle Larson winning. So I think there's something to do there. The other thing I think you're going to see a little bit more of is some of these teams are going to start figuring out other things. And I know there's always the debate of cheating. Okay. Is it right? Should the teams cheat? Should they not? I'll say this. I don't know of a driver out there that, as competitive as these guys are, that don't tell their crews to push it for everything they've got. I know a couple of drivers that have said to their teams, I don't want to drive a car that's 100% stock legal. If you guys ain't pushing it to the envelope, then I don't want to drive your race cars. And Dale Jr. has been very famous and very vocal about that, but I know other guys have been too. And there's been stuff that, crying out loud, you'd be surprised what some of these teams have tried. NASCAR tells teams every week, don't try this. Don't bring this back. Don't bring that back. It was just like the story with the T-Rex car and Jeff Gordon and Ray Abraham. What those guys did with that car was not illegal. it sure as hell pushed the boundaries. And NASCAR told them, don't ever bring this car back, which is part of the reason why it sits in the museum at Hendrick Motorsports. There it was not an illegal car, but they made it illegal after the fact. And they're doing a lot of that with a lot of these things that are happening. So just kind of crazy, how some of these things happen, and some of these teams push these envelopes, but sometimes the cheating isn't always a bad thing. And especially I've noticed it with some fans that if it's their driver, they don't care, but if it's somebody else, God forbid they do it, they want the Bible thrown at them or something. I don't know. It's kind of crazy. So um, they just want the whole book thrown at them. Throw them away. Lock the key. Throw the key away. That's what I was going for. Not throw the Bible at them. Lock the key. But anyhow, the other bombshell announcement was the reprofiling of Atlanta Motor Speedway. And this brings me to my other point of NASCAR fans will complain about anything and everything. None of you have seen the new next-gen car on the track more than one car at a time or two cars at a time, period, end of discussion. NASCAR has gotten to great lengths not to take packs of these things out yet and run them. So how the heck any of these guys know what in the world this car is going to do at a reconfigured, reprofiled Atlanta Motor Speedway blows my goddamn mind every single day. But nothing is good enough for the NASCAR fan, and I'll tell you why. The NASCAR fan will complain that if NASCAR inevitably changes the caution procedure at Road America, and if they added a ramp and or shortened the track between turns 5 and 13, NASCAR fans would lose their mind and complain to no end. And then when the commercials get shortened up for 5 minutes, they'll complain that they missed part of the race because they couldn't go to the go to the fridge and grab a cold beer during the middle of the caution. So you can't have it both ways. And I've said this for a long time. NASCAR fans want it both ways. And I just sit there and laugh at it sometimes. But the fact is, we got to give it a little bit of a chance. You got to sit there and let NASCAR and the teams and the tracks try out Atlanta and see what it's really going to do. I know the drivers are pissed off as hell that they did not get consulted. But you know what I say? Boo frickety who. You know why? Because you know what? If the driver's input was actually sought out, they would have gotten 40 different opinions of what they should have done to Atlanta Motor Speedway. Because not a single one of them would have agreed on it. And they still would have complained about it. So at the end of the day, what the hell do you want these guys to do? I know Speedway Motorsports has taken a lot of heat. They screwed up Bristol in a lot of people's opinions, and I can't say they're wrong about the way that the concrete has been. But I don't say that they screwed it up with the dirt track. I thought the dirt race was good. I think it was something the fans all enjoyed for the most part. I mean, some of them didn't, but again, this is why I say NASCAR fans complain about everything. And you can never, and in life, you can't make everybody happy. And that's the thing that people got to realize too. NASCAR is trying to do what they can to make as many people happy as they can. You can't make everybody happy. You're going to piss off somebody. And whether it's the fan that's been around for 6 months or the fan that's been around for 60 years, someone's going to get pissed off by every single thing they do. And every little thing's going to get people mad. It is what it is, and it's going to happen. So we'll see what happens, but I say wait and see in Atlanta. I think it's a step. In which direction, I have no idea. But just give it a chance, please, for all of mankind. Instead of jumping on Atlanta and bitching out Marcus Smith and the Smith family about, making more changes, everybody hates change. Everybody I know hates change. But you know what? You got to give change a chance sometimes, because sometimes if you don't change something, you never know what you might have missed out on. So I say let's give it a shot. If they screw it up, if the racing's really bad, then give them hell. Don't give them hell before it happens. Come on. Give the guys a fighting shot. That's all I'm asking for. And all I'm asking for the NASCAR fans, I mean, listen, I love the fans. I think they're great. I love all the support I get. But at the end of the day, I mean, some of you just complain about everything. And it shows really bad. And it makes some of us that actually enjoy the sport, that love talking about it, especially somebody that likes talking about it on a podcast on a mostly weekly basis, It just makes it really hard because people think all we do is whine and bitch about everything. And that's not the case. I really do like the direction NASCAR is going. I really do like that they're coming out with this next car. I really do like that we are going to get some new style tracks. They're going to rebuild Auto Club Speedway as a high bank short track. Awesome. I think it's great. Let's see what happens. All right. They're going to reprofile Atlanta. Awesome. Let's see what happens. Let's see what other tracks they give us. If we get the Nashville Fairgrounds in 3 years, awesome. Let's see what happens. We got to be positive at the end of the day. I mean, NASCAR is trying everything they can to make the fans happy, and you're never going to make everybody happy, okay? I'm upset that Dover decided to take a date away and give it to Nashville Super Speedway. But you know what? I saw the product that we saw at the racetrack for the first time this season at Nashville Super Speedway, and as much anger as I had that they took a race away from Dover, the fact that they sold that place out with 30,000 fans, the fact that there's a lot of people that want to go back next year, and they're going to make improvements. They're going to make that product even better. I can't be mad at them anymore for that. So sometimes you got to lay you got to bury the hatchet, and you know what? Just forgive and forget, man. Just move on. We got too much other crap that we got to worry about to stay mad at NASCAR for what? For giving us something we all enjoy, we all love, we all watching on TV, we're all listening to on podcasts and stuff like that. Just don't be mad about it. Be happy they're making these changes. Be happy that we're evolving as a sport, because you know what? There's a lot of sports that don't evolve and then they die out. NASCAR is constantly evolving. They're constantly pushing the envelope. They're constantly trying to make the product better. Sometimes we find out things that we shouldn't be doing, and then we change those things and we get to the right direction. So you're going to stumble. You're going to fail. You're going to have some bad racing. We all know these things are going to happen. You're going to have some bad racetracks. But until they figure this stuff out, you can't be jumping on them too soon. Don't jump on them before it happens, please. That's all I ask for. All right, I think I've hopped off the soapbox now. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk this week. I greatly appreciate it. The NASCAR fan that is ungrateful for what NASCAR has done over the last 10, 15, 20 years. I mean, my gosh, some of it is just, it's comical. If you go through social media on a daily basis, you'll see, you know what I'm talking about. So, but for those of you that do support the podcast, I really do appreciate it. And, the website and all that. So I do love the fans. It's just some of you are out of your goddamn minds. So, realistically, that's all the news. I mean, we have some paint scheme reveals that you can go check out on the Facebook page. I know they unveiled a really cool Ryan Blaney scheme that he's going to run this weekend at Atlanta. It's the Rusty Wallace Miller Genuine Draft paint scheme colors with the scallops. Not my favorite Penske paint scheme they've ever run, but, they're trying. They're attempting to do something, guys. Georgia Peanut Commission is going to be back with Anthony Alfredo at Atlanta. So that's really good news. And then we also found out that Seed, a token, one of those cryptocurrency kind of deals, is going to sponsor Garrett Smithley at Atlanta as well. And then Boss Baby, the new movie that's put out by DreamWorks, I believe, which is part of Universal and NBC. That's out in theaters right now. They're going to be sponsoring Corey LaJoie at Atlanta as well. So some really big sponsorship news for some of those teams and some kind of cool paint schemes. So check it out on our social channels and also on thecrewchief.net. That's all the time we have for this week on our episode here at the Crew Chiefs Corner podcast. Once again, thank you all so much for tuning in. For those of you watching on YouTube and Twitch, thanks for hanging out with me for the last little bit. Appreciate all the support. And you can follow us on YouTube. Just search Crew Chiefs Corner, follow our channel. And then on Twitch, it's twitch.tv/Giants, like the football team, 02122. And you can follow us along there on Twitch and YouTube for our live streams. We try to do one every other episode. That's just kind of how I'm doing it. I'm alternating it, one where we do it with the live recorder and one that we do without. So check us out on there. All of our social is going to roll right after I'm done talking here. So until next week, enjoy the races at Atlanta. I think it's going to be another hot and slick race out there. I think we're going to see maybe this is the week Kevin Harvick gets a win in the Cup Series. I think it's the recipe for Harvick to get a win, and it's clock's ticking on him to get a win this season. So I think Atlanta is going to be for Harvick. And in the Xfinity Series, I really do think that we're going to see Justin Allgaier get another win. And, we'll see. We'll see how it all pans out. So, and then Knoxville, man, we got a great truck race. Be sure to tune into that race. It's out in Knoxville, Iowa, out on the dirt. I can't even predict who the hell is going to win that race. It's going to be a good one. So tune in and watch all the races this weekend. We'll talk about them next week right here on the Crew Cheese Corner podcast. I'm Bobby Bailey. Thanks everybody for listening. Have a great week. Enjoy the races, and we'll catch you next time right here on the Crew Cheese Corner podcast. All right, guys, that's it. That's all we got for tonight. We'll catch you guys next time right here on YouTube and on Twitch. Thanks for listening, and be sure to check out the episode. It'll be available wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, probably within the next 20 minutes or so. Have a good one.